How's risk a good thing? Hi, I'm Mickey Dedier. Today I'm in the woods with the foxes, which is a nature program I've run for children for the past 5 years. Today it's November, and there's one of them. Today is November, and it's cold, and people are getting sick, and so we're not the full number, but we're here, and we're building a shelter that they're going to sleep in December. We had our first snows today. It's getting cold. And I'm trying to teach them to think ahead, which is not the easiest things when they're hopped up in homemade chocolate cookies. But yeah, you see some signs of that there. But I wanted to talk about risk anyway, and what happens when we don't accept risk, when we don't allow risk to be a part of childhood. Well, so the first thing is to accept risk. I'm sorry, I'm a bit distracted by all the children here working behind me by the fire with axes, with saws, with sticks, and I'm responsible for them. Things can happen. So one thing is to gauge acceptable risk. Now, risk is, of course, what they engage with as soon as they leave what we consider to be comfortable and safe. And maybe as parents we know what's risky when they're 1 year old or 3 years old or 5 years old. But that changes, doesn't it? As they grow, their consciousness of risk changes. Their capacity to assess risk changes. So that's one thing. What's age appropriate risk? Let's not bring our assessment of their capacity at 4 into their capacity at 7. And then there's this other thing about risk, which is that the risk diminishes with experience. So if we want them to be safe, they need experience in handling things that are inherently risky. Things that could possibly hurt them. That's one of the hardest things I find as a parent. To let our children do things, climb trees, handle knives, handle axes, be in the woods, be on their own in the woods, have snowball fights like these guys have had several times without any rules at first until they get hurt and they learn what rules they need to have in place so that there's a good balance between risk and fun. Another thing in risk is trusting our children, really trusting that their capacities are amazing once they're giving the trust to do things that we might feel is beyond their capacity. Another thing when it comes to risk, of course, is that we guide our children. We keep an eye on them, and we can guide them when we see that, okay, here it might be helpful with some instruction. So with the axe, for instance, it's taken us a couple of years to get to the axe. Axe is a very difficult tool to handle, and they have underdeveloped arms, but especially grip strength and forearm strength. And so suddenly something that seems a tool they can control can become too much for their muscles really to handle. So I have to teach them really good technique before they handle the axe. And once they use the axe, I have to kind of keep a little eye on them to make sure that they're using that technique and not getting sloppy, or that play doesn't intervene too much in how they approach things. But yeah, what if they don't have any risk at all? What if we keep them comfortable? What if we are absolutely obsessed with safety? Well, I think we're setting them up for a life or years or perhaps moments in their lives when they're full of anxiety and worry and don't have that essential self-reliance that comes with stepping outside of what we consider safe and engaging with the physical world around them in ways that are playful, interactive, physical, and yes, can possibly lead to hurt. Can possibly lead also to emotional hurt, but physical hurt. In the 5 years that I've been running this, we've had minor injuries so far. Touch wood, touching wood right here. There you go. It's hanging on a branch, this phone. That's why it's swinging. But yeah, the safety, is that what I said? Yeah, safety. Too much safety, too much comfort. They just don't grow. They just don't develop in these rich ways that has us be amazed by their strength, their power, their capacities. To consider some of these boys are almost 13, or some of them are a little bit older than 13. And to consider that that was the age when we initiated children, boys and girls, into young adulthood, and they were burdened with responsibilities now, ways to feed the village, ways to use their skills and their gifts to begin to provide as well in different ways, to begin to craft in different ways. And so that physiological development is still there. So what's lacking? Well, risk is often lacking. Now, I don't know if you've done this, but I know it happens that we use safety as another way of saying no. We say, oh, that's not safe, or no, you can't do that, that's not safe. When actually what we are saying is no, for different reasons, whatever those reasons might be. So don't use safety instead of saying no. Don't raise the issue of risk when what we're actually saying is no, you can't do that, or that we don't want them to do something for other reasons. I've seen that happen in the many different contexts where I worked with children in the woods and other adults and parents, that we say it's not safe when we mean don't do it. We'd rather not you do it. And also, how are we with our own acceptance of risk? How are we with our own need for comfort? And how are we also with our own obsession with safety? Safety is anathema to development, really. Sure, you can develop when things are safe and comfortable. Of course you can. But you do need this element of adrenalated risk that makes life zing, So these kids are building this shelter. They're using, as you can hear, the saw. They got a fire going that they lit with flint and steel. They're using axes, they're using knives, they're sitting on each other's shoulders to tie the branches together. They're cutting these, well, they're not really trees, but they're cutting the poles, felling them with axes. A lot of things are going on. And so far, so good. And look what they're building. In a few weeks, it's going to be covered in spruce needles or spruce branches that are going to cover it like tiles layered on top of what they're constructing there. And they're going to spend a night out. And maybe it'll snow. Maybe it'll be -10. And they're going to have a fire going. And they're going to get through that night one way or another. Can you imagine what's on the other side of that night for them? Having done all of this and then having slept in that shelter and gone through a cold night alone in the dark, because I'm not going to be here. They're going to be on their own. Well, I can imagine, and I hope you can too, the benefits of risk. So I just want to share all those thoughts on the importance of guiding our children towards risk and teaching them techniques of being with risk, whether that's lighting a fire, tending a fire, using a knife, using an axe, using a saw, felling a tree, whatever it might be. That self-reliance is something you don't learn in the same way when you're older. And hopefully these guys will now grow, as some indigenous cultures used to say, strong as saplings, straight as saplings, that they have that joy of being able to work together to create a comfortable night in the woods with dangerous tools. So that's some of the ways in which risk help our children grow into healthy, fulfilled adults with a deep sense of belonging. If you like this, please press like. And if you really like it, press subscribe and the bell button. You'll get notifications of future videos. But that's all for now, and see you later. Bye-bye.